about 180 students, small classes, teachers from the field, from experiences. But we, in spite of being not a regular funded institution, we were formally accredited by the Dutch government. And what we have been focusing on since it came into existence is and professional growth and personal growth. So it's in our DNA. And the funny thing is that about 10 years ago, and I already been the director for a couple of years, then I read a book on Bildung, and then I got a kind of epiphany because I think, okay, that's what we're doing. We're actually a school which is really based on Bildung, and then everything fell into place. And then I started studying Bildung more, and finally I found a way to put a term in the philosophy in the strategy from the school about it. It was about 2011, 2012. And then the funny thing was that about a year later, in the strategic agenda of higher education in the Netherlands, I saw the word Bildung crop up again, and it was written by the then Minister of Education, Jet Bussemaker. And if you looked at or if you watched Michiel Tolman's presentation yesterday, you saw her. She was the lady in white in one of his photos. So everything came into perspective, and so I found out, okay, if that's the way, the direction even the government is going, that makes me feel on a safe and right way. And if you look, for instance, at Dutch law, the Dutch law on higher education, it says that it's obligatory or compulsory for higher education institutions to promote a sense of social responsibility for our students. So that goes very well along with the whole idea of Bildung. So we worked it out for a couple of years, and then maybe you know that every 6 year institutions of higher education have to be re-accredited by the government. And then I started thinking, how can we more or less formalize it? And now the Dutch government well, there's something that's called distinctive features in higher education, and their own entrepreneurship or sustainability, but you also can make up one yourself. So for our last accreditation in 2019, I decided that we would organize a feature which was called Bildung. And the formalizing is not, it's not for the money, it's not for the show, but it's really because we feel that it's so important. Of course, you do not get it for free. So you have to have some extra accreditation requirements. You have to prove that it's an integral part of your vision. It's in your strategy, it's in your DNA. It should be relevant for the labor market. We are an applied University of Applied Sciences, so we have to deal with the outcome for our students, that they are feasible for the labor market, and you have to be different from other schools. So we had to make a benchmark, and we fortunately succeeded in that. And then we got this nice award, which is in Dutch. But one thing which is important says that it's valid until December 31st, 2025. So it's not something that you get forever. And of course, that's very important. That's not forever, because it will keep you sharp, will keep you on your toes, and that you will see it as an ongoing process in which you can really improve your quality. We also had this kind of logo, which is in Dutch, and it says, "Je bent nooit af," which means literally, you're never finished. So I translated it in, growth never stops. And that's really the important aspect, that you're never finished as an organization, never as a student, never as a human person. That's what we really want to integrate in our curriculum and in our education. So then, of course, noblesse oblige. So we had to do, after getting the feature, we had to start doing something more. So we made up a Bildung team, which is not, of course, responsible for Bildung, but which has to organize things about Bildung. And it consists of the professors, it consists of staff members, it consists of students, and it consists of our internship coordination. And it does not include me, or it does not include an exam committee, because we feel it has to be not something only formal, but very informal, and it should belong to the people, to the people in the school. So that's what we have been doing now since about 1.5 years. And then during the accreditation, we also involved the Bildung Academy as part of our evaluation team, as well as AQI, which is an organization which does the formal accreditation. And then after the accreditation, we decided to form a kind of partnership in which to look further, not only for educational institutions, but also for other institutions. And we are now in the process of developing what we call the Bildung Canvas, which is a kind of instrument that can help educational organizations to develop and strengthen and implementing their Bildung goals and actions. So maybe if you look at educational institutions, you can help them to also get this kind of distinctive feature. But of course, in the terms of lifelong development and lifelong learning, it's also necessary to go a step further and also look at other organizations. So the Bildung Canvas is a method for analysis. It includes coaching and consultant and support implementing and evaluation. And that's, well, this is about the model, which is, I won't go into detail about it now, but of course there's something, there's more behind the model. But of course, it's a mix of all these elements. And so now we're at the point of, within the framework of the school, to develop Bildung further, and also trying to develop it for post-initial education and for companies. So actually, we're in the middle of the future. And that's it. So thank you for watching and listening.
Okay, Spijker, the new school. Thank you very much. Then we have Falling Walls. And I don't know, Matthes, are you are going to tell about it, or does it be Judith?
We're of course sharing that responsibility, but I'm going to start off. Falling Walls will be an interesting, or like I find it really interesting to be here as Falling Walls, because we are presenting ourselves more as a not as an advocate or a institution of Bildung. Bildung is not in our DNA, so to speak, as it is with Kees, but more as a breeding ground for all kinds of different new approaches to teach and learn. And and allow me to try and share a presentation that we have. So the name Falling Walls, just to get that out of the way, is derived from the fall of the Berlin Wall, of course, which was a major turning point in history, a really like a true breakthrough in the true sense of the word. And in the same spirit, Falling Walls is asking what are the next walls to fall in society. And we invite leaders in science, media, and business, as well as the public to gather around a bonfire, so to speak, and discuss solutions to the challenges that we are facing today. And Judith and I are representing two initiatives within Falling Walls that are contributing to this mission in slightly different but very complementing ways. Judith is representing the Berlin Science Week, which is a yearly international science festival that happens in November. And I'm here on behalf of the Future Learning Project, where we are in the business of curating the most innovative and most breakthrough ways of teaching and learning. And what we would like to do in these 5 minutes that we have is just to give you a short glimpse of what we're doing and what we're learning along the way. Yeah. So firstly, with future learning, what are our three core components of work is one, a future or a future lab that is trying to identify and give visibility to initiatives that really change the landscape of education and learning today. We're trying to be a hub for peer learning, which means that we are trying to build stages and discussion rooms where these people who have these initiatives and have these ideas come together and discuss and basically debate a future that they want to move into. And the third thing that we do is that we have a yearly competition that scans the horizon for actually new things that come up. And each year, like around 100, maybe sometimes more project initiatives are nominated, and we present this to a jury, and the jury curates our breakthrough of the year. And I want to share 3 lessons that we're learning at the moment. The first lesson is that the most interesting and exciting innovations are currently happening in parts of the world that we are really struggling to access as well, at least through conventional networks. Examples are South America, many Asian and African countries, but as you can see, also Eastern Europe is not really represented on this map. And on a more general level, we do get really easy access to innovations that happen very much in the radar of regular other competitions. But we are, what is most exciting, actually, what we found also our jurors say is most exciting is those innovations, like individual initiatives, individual schools, like Kees is representing, for instance, that are not really on our radar yet, and which have like usually the most exciting, most non-conventional ways of thinking about things. We're also learning that, I mean, this is a model that's probably in your blood already, the SAMR model. And we're also learning that breakthroughs, as we understand them, are often building blocks of other breakthroughs, or are building or are built upon existing breakthroughs. So while we are, defining breakthrough as a redefining thing, a redefining feature of understanding learning differently, oftentimes it is built on innovations that happen way before that. And the last thing that we are learning is that, we're quoting a science fiction author here, that the future of learning as we imagine it is often already present in prototypes, in model projects around the world, or at the very least in like the media or in people's heads. And we're realizing that our job is often less about inventing the future, but rather about evenly distributing, making it accessible to everyone. And this is actually the point where I would like to hand over to Judith, because the Berlin Science Week is exactly in that business, I feel.
Thank you, Matthes. Okay, just to give you a brief introduction to what we do. Between the 7th and 9th of November every year, Falling Walls is organizing a global conference presenting breakthroughs in science and society, which are selected by a jury through a global call in different categories. Future learning, which Matthes has just presented, is one of them. Furthermore, the conference hosts high-level discussions on the future of science and the grand challenges we're facing. Now, Berlin Science Week was founded 5 years ago to expand the Falling Walls conference with the ambition to transform Berlin during those days into a global hub for an open and interdisciplinary exchange of ideas and knowledge. Every year between the 1st and 10th of November, we invite scientific organizations to present and discuss their research and work by organizing events. So through these very diverse contributions, our program broadly reflects the current topics of science and society. Last year, for example, we had over 200 events representing the different scientific disciplines, as well as different sectors of society, such as politics, nonprofit, or culture. We see it as our mission to strengthen vibrant and scientific networks as well as to endorse a fruitful dialogue between science and society to the interested public. So together with all participating organizations, we want to find new, interactive, creative, and also fun ways to make science, research, and innovation accessible to everyone. Because we believe that it is so important to create those spaces and moments where we can inspire each other, where we can learn from one another, spark new ideas, and by that hopefully also contribute to lifelong learning. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I hope Matthes and I were able to just give you like a short introduction into what Falling Walls does, at least from our two initiatives that we present here today. If you're interested in the global call, it is still running until the 15th of June. Or if you're interested in getting involved at the Berlin Science Week, please don't hesitate to contact us. As you can see, we don't, or as Matthes already said in the beginning, we don't have a background in Bildung, but we're open to hear your thoughts and ideas on how our work could contribute to empowering people for lifelong learning or for becoming better decision makers.
Thank you, very inspiring, I must say. Then I give the floor to, I don't know, Bart, are you going to tell your story?
I'll start, and then Marius will take over it. So.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, hi, I'm Bart. I'm working together with Marius. We're both students in Groningen. We study ethics of education, and we happen to work for the same project at the moment, which is the project of democratization of critical thinking. We both do a separate. Oh, Marius, thank you for the screen. We're using this Maro just to give a bit of a visual to my text here. We do both different researches here, and when we started thinking about what we were presenting here, we found it hard to combine these two researches, but then we found the farmer analogy, which you can see a picture of here on the left, which we thought would be a nice way to present our findings and our take on Bildung. When we think of the farmer, we think of a idealized version of how we should work, of how we could work, because in every situation he's both working and being, and it's very intertwined. Yes, he's constantly flowing between his professional standards, his personal values, and societal expectations. We really think that is something that would be a beautiful outcome of someone who is educated through the idea of Bildung. But then while we were thinking about that, we came to a problem with the farmer, which was also very exciting because that it links perfectly with our ideas. That the farmer is probably socialized into being a farmer because he's brought up in a farmer family. And then we were wondering, does this farmer have the autonomy to choose his occupation? And so that brought up a problem. And exactly that problem of autonomy and of critical thinking, which the farmer lacked, was relating to my research in citizenship education, where I view the economic domain. And I saw that it's really not critical. The students learn that they work for money and that they work to keep the economy going. And there's really no opposing view to say like follow your ambitions and then see what you can do for the world. It's only the economic domain was really about consuming and about working, and that really struck me as a big problem. And it's also very it's very much in your face with the problem that this has been showing in education for a pretty long time. So that's why I use this economic domain as a way to view it. And then I was thinking about how do we get back to sort of building in this economic domain, and that's why I'm still talking to you guys, because that's still something we need to find out, and that's why I think this discussion will be quite interesting.
Yep.
So and Marius' research is an extension of this, where he views what type of moments in education bring on the experience of personal growth and bring on the experience of Bildung. And I think it would be a nice moment to pass the microphone on to him. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Art. And the research that I'm doing for the project, the democratization of critical thinking, I am interviewing either old students, graduated students, and also internship supervisors, to ask them at what points did they experience Bildung, either as teachers or as guidance or supervisors or as students themselves, and in what way do they want to see Bildung or personal growth be cultivated in these spaces. And as Ward also said, this idea of personal values and professional standards and societal expectations become very hard to juggle in these environments if there's only a focus on, for example, an economic domain. And with with the interviews that I do, we try to identify these moments where Bildung does happen, or where critical thinking happens, or where the realization of who am I as a citizen in the society that I live in happens, and how do they tie back into the form of education that I'm currently practicing. For example, my focus is mostly on vocational education at the moment. What does my job mean for the society that I participate in, not just as a tool to produce money, but also as a craftsman, for example, and how these tie back into who I am as a person, and what I as a person can also return back into the job and the work that I offer to the society. And with these ideas, we try to return back to this thinking back to the farmer, and that's where the point of choice and autonomy becomes more clear in why we questioned this for the farmer. We kind of hoped to be able to discuss these questions, but we decided to change these questions a little bit so that the work of Kees and the work of Matthes and Judith also can be incorporated into these questions that we can hopefully discuss in a bit. The questions that we had before were, how do we know that the devotion of the farmer to their work and life is genuine? Can this devotion be genuine or an autonomous choice? And do we want to achieve this devotion to the work life and the integration of work and life through Bildung? When we discussed this together with Kees, Sandra, Matthes, and Judith, or Matthes in this case, we changed these questions into how do people make decisions? What happens after these decisions? What are the consequences? And how do we teach these things to our students and also to ourselves? Thank you.